Sandhill cranes are migrating down the Mississippi River Valley, otherwise known as the Mississippi Flyway, now in November. These two cranes could have nested right here in the driftless region this summer, or they could be birds that are coming from as far north as Hudson's Bay, and they're on their way down to the Gulf Coast for the winter, most likely somewhere in Florida, again along the Gulf of Mexico there. By the way, these are greater sandhill cranes. They're the birds that we have here in the Midwest and along the Mississippi Flyway. They stand about a foot taller than the sandhill cranes you'd see if you went out to Nebraska to see that famous migration show in March. Those are lesser sandhill cranes, and they nest further west, all the way up into Alaska. But if you get a chance to get over along the Mississippi River now before things freeze up, be on the lookout for some migrating sandhill cranes. I was surprised to find this beautiful red flat bark beetle crawling around on the ground out in the woods here in November the other day, but after reading up on it, I guess I shouldn't have been. These beetles can produce antifreeze in their bodies that help them survive extremely cold temperatures and even then get through the winter. So these red flat bark beetles are very flat if you look at them from the side, and they can squeeze in between some really tight crevices in tree bark. They are predators, so they eat like mites on the trees and smaller bark beetles. And their larvae do too, by the way, that also live in those trees. These beetles are actually considered beneficial and good for the trees because they eat some of the bark beetles that can actually cause damage to things like our poplar, ash, and oak trees. There aren't many mushrooms and fungi that still fruit out in the forest now. When the weather gets cold in late October and early November. But this ashen night is one of the few tough ones, I guess. You can find them, well, I find them anyway, fruiting underneath pine trees, often in early November. They would normally have a grayish or ashen colored cap. These are getting a little bit old and dried out, so they've kind of separated a little bit there with the little white gaps between them, so they kind of look like pretty little pinwheels. Some people might ask, are they edible? The answer to that would be no, unfortunately. They are said to taste terribly bitter. I've never tried them and don't plan to. They also are said to cause some gastric problems, indigestion for people that would ingest them. So just leave them be out in the forest. Enjoy their beauty. But don't pick them and try to take them home to eat. But be watching for the ashen nights now until the ground freezes up.